threat of disaster is never pleasant.
Welcome to the Casual Preppers podcast.
These safety measures are essential.
The only place for prepping, survival, and entertainment.
This will be your source of survival instructions and information. Every member of the family must be coached in the business of survival.
Here are your hosts, Cam and Kobe.
All these ones we've been doing are talking about wind.
They are. It's very windy.
That's what it feels like.
That sounds like one of those Halloween records. The Halloween sounds back in the day.
Bone crunching and chain getting drugged.
Chains rattling, wind blowing.
True. That might have scared you a little bit.
Dogs barking.
It was just my mouth. Don't worry about it.
Would
scare you a little
Famous
bit too.
last words.
Exactly.
Just my mouth. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Cam, surviving disasters past continues on.
Yes. Today, we're going to talk about, this is a crappy one, one I remember very
George
well.
Bush hates black people.
Yep.
That's what I remember.
So this is August 2005, the Hurricane Katrina.
Hurricane
Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast and became one of the most devastating natural disasters in American history.
Weren't good.
Levees failed. Basically, New Orleans was underwater for a good several weeks, right?
Yeah.
Chaos, evacuation efforts, 1,800 lives lost.
Jeez.
I didn't know it was that high.
Bro.
Katrina revealed the fragility of modern infrastructure and importance of community resilience.
You're right.
So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the storm, what happened, the human toll, and then, most important, what we preppers can do to prepare ourselves for similar types of disasters.
Right. First, though, I got to talk about BattleBox because it is the monthly subscription box full of solid gear for adventure seekers, survivalists, outdoor enthusiasts, and casual preppers. Each month, BattleBox sends you the coolest selection of hand-picked outdoor survival and everyday carry gear, all valued at far more than what you'd normally pay. You never know what's in the next box, but here's a sampling of what users received this month. The Rockagator Hydrix Series 40-liter waterproof backpack, or the Battle Bolt fixed blade knife. All this badassness starts at just $34.99 per month. They've shipped over 1 million boxes and won Best Subscription Box of 2020. Our listeners can get 15% off when you sign up at survive.battlebox.com/casualpreppers. You get your first BattleBox and 15% off at survive.battlebox.com/casualpreppers. Perfect.
It's good stuff.
Love it. So let's talk about Hurricane Katrina. August 29th. 2005. I was been married for almost a year.
Oh yeah.
I remember watching this pretty vividly, actually. Katrina makes landfall. Katrina stormed ashore near Burris, Louisiana, as a Category 3 hurricane with winds around 125 miles per hour. The storm itself was massive, 400 miles wide, Cameron, covering nearly the entire Gulf of Mexico. That is insane.
Gulf of America.
Sorry, back then, it was the Gulf of Mexico. Now
That's
the Gulf
insane.
Of
I had no idea.
Exactly.
That big of a...
Yep. And in New Orleans, the real disaster wasn't just this wind. Levee failures along canals and flood walls let water pour into the city. And apparently the city was built like under water, basically.
I remember reading about, I'm like, how do these levees work there?
Yeah.
They didn't.
It's like negative
you're right.
elevation.
Yep.
Not great. Within hours, 80% of New Orleans was underwater. In some neighborhoods, up to the rooftops. And those images, man.
I do
Nobody
remember that.
Yeah.
Helicopter flying over and all the people on their roofs.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
terrible.
that. People who couldn't evacuate were trapped on their rooftops, in attics, or clinging to debris. Remember the people just holding on to stuff?
Anything that float.
The Superdome and Convention Center became shelters of last resort, where tens of thousands
became nightmare fuel.
Oh my gosh. Endured sweltering heat, little food or water, and chaos for days. Mississippi took the surge.
Didn't they tear that down not too long ago?
They tore it down. Entire coastal towns like Waveland, Pass Christian, and Gulfport were flattened by a 20 to 28 foot wall of storm surge.
It's in the name.
Yeah, exactly.
Waveland.
Concrete slabs were all that remained where neighborhoods once stood. Infrastructure basically collapsed in these places. Roads, bridges, and ports completely wrecked. Refineries went offline, causing national gas price to spike. Communications went down, leaving people cut off from both rescuers and their loved ones. And there were many disasters within the disaster, a dome within a dome. Fires burned unchecked. Hospitals ran on failing generators. Police and first responders were overwhelmed. Federal help took days to arrive, and when it did, it wasn't enough most of the time. Right? It was a bad deal. Like, none of this was good. Nothing was great here. There were scenes burned into our memory from this hurricane. Like we were just talking about, families waving sheets from the rooftops for rescue. The city's iconic streetcars were half submerged in water. Highways jammed with abandoned cars for so long. It was a catastrophe that showed how quickly a modern city can break down when water takes control.
Yeah. 20 years ago,
Insane
and it
disaster.
just like completely fell apart.
Yep.
So obviously the worst thing about this were the deaths.
Yes.
That's the worst thing that can happen to a human being.
Yeah. Well, some things will gnaw a man worse than death, Cam.
Yeah.
That's what Robert Duvall told me one time.
Yeah, true. But yeah, so in Louisiana, at least 986 deaths directly from Katrina, including evacuees in other states. The total exceeds 1,000 people. The major causes, 40% drowned, which is terrible. Like it's insane that many drowned.
Yeah.
25% injury and trauma, and then 11% heart conditions. And we'll talk about that. Like elderly people, well, right now, elderly people were disproportionately affected. Nearly half the victims were over 75.
Well, so I mean, they can't, they physically don't have the strength to swim or get away.
And everybody's kind of like out for themselves, like trying to save their own family. And it's like the elderly get left behind.
Yeah.
In the chaos after the levees failed, many bodies were left unattended for days or weeks. Some floated through floodwaters. Others were left outside buildings.
Ugh.
And there's one particular disturbing photo that showed a dead body covered with a tarp outside the convention center and left for days in full public view. Like,
how insane
they just
is
couldn't
that?
do anything. They couldn't do anything for the bodies. They couldn't save people that were on top of their roofs. It's just the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
So the evacuation and shelter problems, I just wanted to mention this. There were definitely warnings.
Yeah.
The NWS issued a stark warning on August 28th, 2005, detailing expected devastation and that the affected area would be uninhabitable for weeks. That was a warning.
Oh my
Doomsday
gosh.
warning. Like, I can't believe they even sent out a warning like that.
It's like, you guys got to get out.
Yeah. And so the warning included impact statements describing what would happen to people, their property, essential services, rather than using technical weather terms. So they were very direct about this. The problem was the lack of EAS use. State and local officials did not use the emergency alert system to disseminate the warnings, which would have provided more direct and widespread public notification.
Why
so
wouldn't they?
They
I
were
don't
warned,
understand.
but the system failed people.
Yeah.
So
they were just basically sending the warning out via news and
and
things
if you
like
weren't part of that, or you know, and so there's a lot of poverty there, and that's another big problem. It's like people weren't warned of what could happen, and a lot of them didn't have means to get out of there.
That's
anyway.
the whole thing. Like, you can say, well, why don't you get out, you idiots? Well, if you live in abject poverty,
They don't even have a
like,
vehicle.
what are you supposed to do? Where
Exactly.
do you go? How do you get there?
So that was what was so terrible.
Yeah.
Like, and I know, listeners here probably have someone they know that was devastated directly by this or lost people. So it's crazy though. But yeah, warning systems were sent out, but it wasn't very good locally. And then the other problem was the poverty. That they didn't have ways to get out of there, nor could they get out of there.
And where
It's
were they gonna
They probably
go?
been wanting to get out of there their whole life.
Yeah.
And couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention that first, and then the shelters that took place in the Superdome, New Orleans Convention Center, were overwhelmed, severely underprepared, insufficient clean water, toilets, and medical services. Over 20,000 people took shelter in the Louisiana Superdome. Thousands more at the New Orleans Convention Center, and these places quickly became scenes of chaos. No air conditioning, no working toilets. Extreme heat and humidity, which is even worse. Stench of human waste. People died from dehydration, heat stroke, and lack of medical attention. They just all came there to basically just suffer and die.
Yeah.
Which is like that's my biggest fear of, like, if you lose your home, you don't have a way of getting out of town, and you go to these centers that are just completely unprepared.
Yep.
That's the worst. And then power was out for weeks. The water systems broke down. Clean water was scarce. So it's like even when things were kind of stabilized, the storm had passed. It was weeks of problems.
I think the thing that freaked me out most about like the Superdome stuff was like the lack of civility, like the rapes and the assaults.
And that was like,
holy crap.
There was all
scared the
kinds of
crap out
weird
of
crap
me.
that was happening there that still we're learning about, you know,
Yeah.
of like kids and horrible stuff.
Not good.
Rough people, rough upbringing
Mm-hmm.
were put in amongst all these kids and stuff without protection, and not a good thing.
But no police presence or anything like that. Yeah.
And then to make matters worse too, the transportation and communication collapse prevented coordination and rescue, like couldn't even help.
Yep.
The long-term complications, displacement, over 1 million people were displaced across Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, the largest since the Dust Bowl. A month after the storm, 600,000 households still displaced. FEMA provided 114,000 households with trailer units. Temporary housing remained in use for many years. And there is a big thing with this that's super frustrating is people trying to, like Brad Pitt for one, he was trying to do good, but the construction crews and those that like built these houses did the worst job possible.
They were just going
so it
as
sucks.
fast,
It's like he was trying to do everything, and there were good people behind a lot of these things, but there was a lot of scams, and there was a lot of like, you know, we'll build this, and then they would take their money and they'd disappear. Like that crap was happening a ton forever. New Orleans Metro, 74% of homeowners' units were damaged. Over 40,000 of these had major damage.
40%.
40% had major damage. Costly repairs that took months. Many opened up the opportunity for scammers. That's what I was saying. It's like, we're going to build it. We'll fix this up. We'll restore your power, all this stuff. Took money, disappeared. Happened a lot. Tens of thousands of homes remained uninhabitable years later. It was just like, it looked like doomsday in this area. Over 100 billion in damages, property, infrastructure, etc. Unemployment shot up 6% to 12%, which makes matters worse. You know, people have nothing to live for. They don't have any money, no income. They can't replace what they lost. So they just, you know, you have desperation and just horrible. Older adults in prolonged displacement had greater risk of injury, like floodwater trapped hospitals, backup generators failed as temperatures rose above 100 degrees. Patients suffered without pain meds, food, water. Some patients were allegedly euthanized, and there was a big thing about that. 35 elderly residents drowned in their beds. Just like, this is like one of the most horrible things to like discuss. Other hazards, like, you know how that flood water, we've talked about that, that's just full of like feces and oil and formaldehyde and everything you can imagine. So it's not like you can just swim through it and be unharmed.
You might,
You're dying from
sick.
getting in that water. And then the mental health impacts, obviously. Elevated rates of PTSD, depression, anxiety. I mean, you'd feel like no one cares for you. And like, that's what a lot of people felt. It's just like the government doesn't care. No one's wanting to help us. And pretty horrible. And then poor and African-American communities suffered disproportionately more damage, less supporting resources, and difficulty evacuating, like we were talking about. So it just shows like that, and we saw that same thing with some of these other disasters. It's like in California, the earthquakes, like the Chinese population, tough. I don't know what to tell you. We wanted you out of here anyway.
We're going to put you in a
same kind of thing was happening here. New Orleans population fell by over half.
That's
485,000 before Katrina to 230,000. That is a lot of people just
bonkers
out of there. Many evacuees relocated long distances. I would. Some stayed permanently in new cities. So
wow, what a freaking mess!
Huge mess. Like you can't even put into words all of the chaos and problems that people went through.
It's insane. But as people want to be prepared and ready for anything, the last thing you need is something that will slow you down when you need to be ready the most. That's why we at Casual Preppers have teamed up with Element. It is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing that you don't. We think Element is perfect for bug-out bags and EDC kits because it contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. Casual Preppers listeners can get a free Element sample pack of the most popular drink flavors when you make any purchase through our exclusive Casual Preppers link. They offer no questions asked refunds on all orders. You don't even have to send it back. This offer may be claimed by first-time and returning Element customers, but you have to go to our link. And it's drinkelement.com/casual preppers. Get your order and your free sample pack with any purchase. That is drinklmnt.com/casual preppers.
Go get some.
Go get it. So let's look at some of the survival lessons from this. Number one is hesitation was deadly.
It was.
Many people, I mean, most of the people waited too long to leave, like hoping the storm would weaken or not trusting the people.
Not thinking it could be as severe
Yeah.
and to the rooftop.
Or they didn't have the means to go.
Yeah.
When the levees failed, entire neighborhoods were trapped with no way out. So hesitation in these situations is deadly. You've got to make a decision early and go.
That's the thing. If you're not very educated about the area either, like you would trust that the government has set up a way to protect, the levees and all that stuff.
Exactly.
I'm not putting it all on them, but I'm just saying, you would feel safe. You're like, it's been here for,
So
hundreds
long,
of years. We're probably fine.
And nope. Not so much.
Yeah.
There were evacuation bottlenecks. Freeways turned into parking lots. We've all seen those photos of the freeways. Gas stations ran dry within hours. Everybody was trying to get fuel. Everybody was trying to leave.
At the last minute.
At the last minute, of course. And this left thousands stranded on the road with nowhere to go. And if you didn't leave early, you were basically just stuck.
Yeah.
Boats in this situation were like lifelines. There's people with bass boats or airboats or whatever. And locals who owned them basically became the rescue
It's a
squads.
huge taxi system.
They just became rescue squads because there wasn't enough of official people out there trying to do that. So entire families were saved by neighbors with boats who could navigate flooded streets. Having access to even a small boat or a raft proved priceless. There's people just in blow up rafts, man. It was such an insane thing.
Can't imagine you being the only one in a raft with people feeling like they're going to drown.
Yep.
Like you probably would get pulled under too.
Yeah, you don't know. High ground wasn't always enough. We saw this because some families rode out the storm in second floors or attics, only to discover rising water trapping them inside, which happened quite a bit. The lesson is to always keep a tool like an axe or a pry bar, or you could break through the roof if you had to. It's so important.
Yeah, it's actually part of the beyond the basic gear to have.
Yeah, huge deal. Community networks mattered here. In the hardest hit neighborhoods, survival came down to neighbors sharing food, pulling each other from flooded homes, and creating watch groups when law enforcement was overwhelmed. I mean, it wasn't just like you were scared of the flood or the wind. You were scared of the people too, because it was lawlessness just hit
complete
right
desperation.
away. Yeah. Long-term outage reality check. Some areas went weeks without power, clean water, or medical. I think some of them were months.
Yeah,
Grocery
it was
shelves
forever.
emptied like that, and aid took days to reach many of the neighborhoods. People who had stored water, who had canned food, and backup power sources fared much better. Basically, they're the ones that lived and got through it. Hospitals and care systems were just a freaking joke. It was horrible. Even critical patients were left in sweltering facilities running on backup generators. Families with elderly or sick relatives had to improvise care for days. Preppers with medical supplies and know-how were in huge demand in this time period. Cash was king, baby. The ATMs and card systems down. Only hard cash worked for supplies and food. Many who only relied on debit and credit found themselves out of luck. You just could not buy what you needed to buy. Pets became refugees too. We talk about this all the time, but most of the shelters wouldn't actually allow animals.
Yeah.
And so it's unless you had some sort of prearranged pet carrier or supplies or whatever, your animals basically had to just be let go. You just had to let them go swim through
That's
whatever.
helpful.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Didn't work out
nothing
great.
else.
Yeah. And the mental toll was huge. Beyond physical survival, people described the trauma of days in sweltering, unsafe shelters and watching their communities wash away. Disaster isn't always just about gear. We talk about the mental aspect of it so much. It's also about staying calm and finding ways to support the community and the people around you. It's huge.
Yeah.
Huge, huge.
Worst case scenario.
Yep.
So, some modern prepper takeaways. So, obviously, one of the most important things is evacuation readiness. We talk about this all the time. Having a plan. Your evacuation plan needs to be set in place, especially in these areas, but in every plan, you should have an evacuation plan. Stay informed and follow directions. Like if they tell you should evacuate and you're able to get that news, go. Like, there really isn't anything worth. I can understand leaving my house. This is where most of my preps are.
Yeah.
But if you get a doomsday alert,
Yeah.
the ones that did,
Yeah.
I think, I don't know how many probably left, but a lot of people just try and stay and ride these things out. But
And in these situations, it's not like you're unsure, like, oh, if I leave, is it going to be worse somewhere else? No, it's better
Yeah.
somewhere else. Like,
like,
we know it
you
is.
know you need to get
You
out of
know
there.
you
It's
need
going
to
to be
leave.
multiple weeks of no power, no energy. So,
Yeah.
no power or energy. You're not going to have energy.
Energy power's gone.
Yeah. So have a go bag or bug out bag ready to go, because at any moment you can throw it in for your family. You have 3 days supply, whether you're staying at a hotel, a family member's, the nearest town, in your car.
Yep.
You have supplies with you.
Yep.
That's super important. Keep a full tank of gas and have a vehicle that's able to travel several miles.
Yeah.
Like, people just limp some of their vehicles by. Like,
Ooh.
don't do that if you can.
Yeah.
And then plan multiple evacuation routes like this. It got crowded and packed fast. And and sometimes there's nothing else you can do, but at least you're on your way out. Like, you can start by foot and have a plan to do that at every one of your plans should have foot as an option, and having footwear and clothing and stuff. Footwear. Yeah. And then know your evacuation zone. Stay up to date on local emergency plans. Prearrange a safe destination. Friend or family out of town motel. Like, maybe call ahead and have that stuff set up before you get there.
Yeah, know where you're going to go.
Either way, just get out of there. But have a plan.
Bug out plan.
Shelter and staying put. Reinforce your home. Storm shutters, roof ties, flood barriers, anything that you can. If you are going to stay there, make sure you have a plan to do so. If you're going to do that, you don't know what it's going to be like. Maybe it won't be up to the roof, but either way, if you have some preparedness, for those storms, you're going to be a lot better off.
Here's the thing. Like, there's a lot of people who have lived in these areas for a really long time.
Exactly.
And most of the time they know, like, if I need to get out or not.
Yeah.
Like, and so, like, if you're very prepared and you know you can stay, but there was a lot of people that thought that in Katrina, and
It's true.
they ended up at the Superdome, right?
Exactly. Stockpile supplies, no matter what. Yeah, you are at risk of losing your home completely, but you got to have those supplies anyway. At least 2 weeks, month to 6 months, even better. Year, best. Backup power options. That's the thing. The power, once the storm settled, the flood went down, like, they had no power for weeks on end.
Yeah.
So a good generator, fuel, solar chargers, battery banks. Your car is a generator. If you have ways to plug in battery banks and things like that, like, have all that stuff as part of your plan. We've talked about it a million times. Portable toilet and sanitation kits. This would have been helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Being able to keep all of your poops and your pees away from people is important.
You don't like to mix people with that stuff.
No, you don't.
No.
And then, obviously, water purification tools. Even when water's back up and going, I would be boiling everything and filtering everything.
When everything's flooded and like your water is like floating in the flooded water, you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, even if you have it, stored.
You're like, there's got to be some osmosis. It's got to be absorbing something.
It's
in
gross, right?
And then communication plan. Obviously, all of this stuff's going to be knocked out. So hand crank radios, all the common stuff to be able to communicate with your family and everybody around you as much as possible. Keeping your documents, your important documents, backups, have them in secured safes that are waterproof, fireproof. This stuff is so important. And also having digital and physical copies on you, like either in your bug out bag or on you at all the time, so that you can actually prove who you are.
Or just tattoo.
Have your insurance documents and all that stuff.
Tattoo your insurance and your ID and
Seriously.
everything on your arm.
You almost need to.
Yeah.
And then plan for the elderly. Like, if you are a caretaker, like my wife is for her grandma, it's like there needs to be a plan in place to take care of them. And that makes it harder, but this was the most likely people to die.
Yep.
And then don't forget those comfort items for your kids. You might be sitting in a basement of somebody else's house for weeks. It's like,
I've got some murder podcasts on a
That'll
backup
keep
drive.
Your wife won't even
for
know
my
what
wife.
happened.
Yeah, just like put this in, dear. It's going to be good.
Yep.
Float down the road.
That's
Listen.
good. Yeah,
Float down the road and listen to this podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then prepare mentally. Like, if your mental state is not good now, it's not going to get better during one of these. So make sure you get that and understand stress reduction and ways to cope with more stress. Now, some of the advanced gear I just wanted to go over real quick. rescue tools, like you were mentioning, pry bars, hatchet, folding shovels. This stuff could have helped a lot of people get through doors, get to the roof when they were trapped inside an attic or something like that. So just consider having those things available. Maybe just store a hatchet up in your roof.
Yeah.
Just because.
Or didn't we talk about storing like a raft on the roof
Yeah,
or something?
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the next thing is inflatable raft and life vest.
Yeah.
If you live in an area, especially if you're on the coast, you should have this kind of stuff.
For sure.
For sure. Dry bags and waterproof containers. Hey, you got your battle box, you just got one.
You just got one.
So night vision, thermal imaging are some options too, where the lights are out and, you know, headlamps, all that stuff's super important, but you could have even nicer stuff.
Yeah.
Thermal imaging would be real helpful.
Sure, why not?
Where's my cat? There you go.
Neighbor's backyard.
Portable water pump, useful large battery power stations. I love these things, especially if you rely on medical devices to keep you going or your family. It's like, make sure you have a generator that can be used indoors. And that's where those solar battery power stations come in super handy. Also, it can charge or it can power TVs and gaming devices to help with your kids, keep them distracted. Yeah. Extension cords. Make sure you got a lot of extension cords.
Yep.
Ham radio is important. Backup supply meds. Again, medical facilities are going to be completely overwhelmed. If you're waiting on your refills every day to the, at the 30-day mark, like you're going to probably be in trouble.
Yeah, can you imagine the people at the Superdome? Like how many people had like high blood pressure or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
And they went weeks without
especially that population just, unfortunately has a lot of genetic issues that lead to way more needing medications. Personal sanitation devices, pest control too. Pet control too. Yeah. But yeah, like this kind of weather and the heat and the mosquitoes, I'm sure tons of diseases were spread even more so during all of that.
That's yucky.
And like you said, having cash on hand is extremely important. And again, multiple ID backups on your device, hard copies, encrypted, all that stuff. And then backup fuel. Something to be able to cook with, having like propane on hand, also protein, gasoline, and diesel for cars. Whatever you need to have some extra fuel because those pumps aren't going to work for weeks on end. No, where people are just going to suck them dry. So yeah, I know I went over a lot of that stuff, but hopefully that gives you some idea of how to be a little more prepared for a situation like this. Today's podcast is brought to you by Tac Pack, the only tactical subscription box with useful professional grade stuff inside. You can use our code and you just get a free $70 machine made part from Next Level.
Here you go. That's what they do. That's what they say.
$70 in your box in the form of a machine made part. I don't know what that part is.
I don't either, but you're going to find out when you get your Tac Pack. So let's go over just a few last things to reiterate some of these points because they're very important. Start tracking these things early. Hurricanes are slow moving. We talked about tornadoes last week. They are not slow moving. Those things come out of nowhere.
Days ahead of time.
Yeah, we know for days, but the problem is the forecast shifts very frequently. Yeah. So you have to track it. You have to understand what's going on. A storm that's like hundreds of miles away, it can change course overnight. So keep an eye on the updates, not just like the basic headlines like, blah, 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 hurricane is still brewing off the coast. Like that doesn't help you. You need to kind of know where it's going. And then don't gamble in those surge zones. If you're in a floodplain or you're near the coast, just freaking evacuate before the roads jam. The storm surge is what kills most people. It's not the wind.
It's not worth it.
Water levels can rise 10 to 20 feet in hours, so you just need to be out of there. Fuel is a prep. It's not a luxury. Gas runs out fast when a storm is coming, so keeping your tanks and cans topped off early in the season beats waiting for 5 hours in lines, or whatever, or getting to a place where there is no more fuel. That's not good. You want to figure that out. Board it, bag it, tie it. Shutters, sandbags, all those things can save your home, but only if they're in place before the storm. You've got to get this prep done before the storm hits, and don't forget all that loose yard crap, your patio chairs and all that stuff. That's missiles at 100-mile-per-hour wind. Imagine like that, umbrella in your yard, whatever.
I'm sure people got a lot of different patio sets after this storm.
They probably did. Ones that like bolt
mismatching.
To the earth. We got a bunch of stuff. Stockpiles must survive the water. We just kind of talked about this. Store supplies in waterproof totes. sealed bins or dry bags.
Yeah.
Like if you have, I got 2 weeks worth of food. Doesn't help if it's ruined by flood water.
Yeah.
Like if it's all
Like flour and sugar and all those in the paper bags.
No good.
That stuff is going to instantly be ruined.
gone. It's gone.
I've worried about that several times.
have
I'm like,
too.
I don't have all my sugar in. You need to get garbage bags.
You gotta get your sugar in some garbage bags.
Get your sugar now.
Yeah. Plan for the aftermath phase. After landfall, hazards often multiply. Contaminated water, exposed nails, down lines, unstable buildings, mold, all those things. You got to be ready for that with like boots and gloves and masks and bleach and all that, flashlights and batteries. You got to be ready for all the stuff that happens in the aftermath.
Yeah.
And then expect multiple hits. A hurricane's feeder band can spawn tornadoes hundreds of miles inland.
Yeah.
If you didn't know, that's a crazy deal. Don't assume you're safe just because you're away from the coast, because those things do happen.
I think with that plan for the aftermath phase is a good place to like put in, skills. Like that's where it's like any of your carpenter skills or stuff like that. It's going to make a big difference for you.
It's going to be a huge difference.
How to put boots on.
Yeah. One
How to
leg at a
float.
time. Dead man's float. Get it down.
I still haven't got that down very
That's
good.
hard. Yeah. Communications just aren't guaranteed. Cell towers and internet can go down for days. You got that NOA radio, walkie-talkies, or even a satellite messenger can help keep you connected when that grid is failing. Again,
Man, all the like Apple stuff, they give you satellite messaging for free right now.
Pretty cool.
So
it's awesome.
Consider that when you get a new phone.
Understand that, yeah. Cash, not cards. Again, just like Katrina showed, ATMs and card systems will crash in these situations. Small bills in a waterproof pouch can save your bacon and can get you some bacon so you can eat.
I love bacon.
I love bacon. Bacon is great. That's the next point. Get some bacon. Think about your pets. Again, many evacuation shelters don't allow animals. You can't just bring them in there.
It's a good thing to know.
You got to figure that out. And then don't go back too soon. Authorities often restrict reentry for a very good reason because it's not safe. The water's toxic, or the buildings are unstable, or the roads are washed out.
Yeah, it's not worth it for you.
Have patience before you go running back in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be careful. But that is surviving Hurricane Katrina.
Ugh, I don't ever want to go through that.
I do not either. I don't like even
That's why I
thinking
live in the
about
dry
it.
desert.
Yeah, where we just had a tornado and a thunderstorm and an earthquake. We had all those within
We did.
1
we
week.
had that little earthquake. Huh? I forgot about that.
Everything within 1 week. So, yeah, that's why we're here, Cam.
Yeah.
To get away from that stuff.
That's true.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate the heck out you. Make sure you please go hit subscribe. Just hit subscribe. Also, leave us a 5-star review. That helps tremendously. We're getting really close to 1,000 reviews on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Go drop one for us.
Please.
We're like 12 away or something
kidding.
like that. Yeah.
I don't know if I've reviewed it. I need to
You
do
better
that.
go do that. Yes. Please do that. Also, go check out our other podcast, Raised by VHS. We're doing lots of fun stuff over there.
It is
You're
way
going to
fun.
enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Thanks. Stay survived.